There is a game I play with my brother called Hearthstone Battlegrounds. It's kind of like regular Hearthstone, but not. The difference is you're put into a lobby with 7 other people, totaling 8, and in duos, the version I play with my brother, it's still 8 people, but people team up in teams of 2. My brother usually goes for meta builds, things he sees on the internet, and I usually go for builds that are a little unconventional? Anyways, it's a really fun way to play Hearthstone, and you should give it a try. And now the real meat and potatoes of this video. Typically at the end of a Hearthstone Battlegrounds game with my brother, he'll say something like, "Oh, my board can beat your board!" To which I'll respond,
"This is funny to you?"
Typically it is the way that it goes, where his board is the stronger of our 2 boards, and my board is like the support board, but it's just kind of become our dynamic, especially since he's more familiar with the metagame. The problem here lies in a particular game that we both had. He was running Quillbore, and I was running whatever this is. We got second place, and at the end of the game I said, "You didn't get your scaling started soon enough." Which he responded, "You know my board will slap your board, right?" This is an average Chris response. Usually when he's under fire, you're gonna hear the "you sucks," you're gonna hear "you're terrible," you're gonna hear "you don't know what you're doing," whatever. But this time I was looking at my board, and I was looking at his board, and I was thinking, I don't know about that. I think my board would take a big fat dump on your board. To which he responded, "What? No! I told him, I said, "Listen, buddy, I'll work out the math, and I can prove to you that my board would spank your board." Some of the things we had to consider before I started to do the math was blood gems. These are spells that usually give +1 attack and +1 health to whatever they're played on. Problem is, we don't know exactly what his blood gems were at. After some deliberation, we decided +30, +24 would be a good estimate, and we both agreed that I'll do my calculations using these numbers. We also agreed that I'd calculate trying to give him the most optimal RNG I could think of. Now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at the numbers. Alright, so the first thing we gotta do is take a look at all the attack and all the health of all the minions that we both have. Now, if we were just looking at the stats, obviously my board wins here. But when you're comparing both of these boards, there's more than just the stats to consider. Both my brother and I had a hero power, a lesser trinket, and a greater trinket. Out of these hero powers and trinkets, only 2 of them mattered: the hero power and greater trinket of my brother. I'd like to clarify that my brother's hero power was a greater trinket, but that's because he was using buttons, a character whose hero power turns into a greater trinket. Jar of Gems reads, each combat, after 2 friendly minions attack, play a blood gem on all your Quillbore. All of my brother's minions are Quillbore, so it's all of them. Quillography set buffs the strength by +1/+1 for each 4 minions that die during combat. When doing the math on screen, I'm going to keep a visual tracker so we can keep track together. The other hero powers and trinkets don't proc during combat, so they're unimportant. Before we start doing any math, there's also another thing we have to consider: the abilities of each of these minions. 4 out of the 7 minions I have special abilities. Selfless Hero produces a Divine Shield when she dies, and both of my Mantid Kings have a Divine Shield and Venomous already. If for some reason you don't know, Venomous means the first time this minion deals damage to another minion, that minion instantly dies. And Divine Shield means it ignores the first proc of damage it receives. 5 out of the 7 minions my brother has have special abilities. His non-golden Glow Gullet Warlord summons 2 Glow Gullet Soldiers, both of which have a blood gem played on them when they're summoned. The golden version is the same thing, except for 2 blood gems are played instead of 1. Corrupted Bristler summons a golem with stats equal to the amount of stats gained through blood gems. The golden version summons 2. Arguably the most important part about my brother's build is Needling Crone. During combat, blood gems give double what they normally would. Sniping this early on would give my side a huge advantage, but seeing as I'm giving my brother the most favorable RNG, it'll just have to remain the thorn in my side. Okay, that's the groundwork. Let's go ahead and get to the math part of this video, which I thought I already got to, but nope, that was groundwork. Now is the math. It's important to recognize which minions here have taunt, because while I'd like to send the minions elsewhere for the most favorable RNG, we gotta respect the rules of the game. For my brother, the most favorable RNG is probably where he attacks first. That way, my attack doesn't go into a random Quillbore of his, and he gets the buff from Jar of Gems. While recording the segment of the attacks and the order of attacks, I think it's best for me to just go through all the attacks, and I can always explain afterwards or whenever. If I explain my thought process between every single attack, this video would be, a year, and also really boring. So let's just get into it. Pokey into Mantiking. Selfless into Pokey. Warlord into Mantiking 2. Selfless into Soldier. Soldier into Selfless. Tauren into Bristler. Warlord into Selfless. Passenger into Soldier. Soldier into Selfless. Mantiking into Crone. Bristler into Mantiking. Cho into Bristler. Golem into Mantiking. Mantiking into Golem. Golem into Passenger. Selfless into Golem. Well, what have we here? I gotta be honest, I thought about taking the low road on this one, but instead, I'd like to turn this into a teaching moment. Even though it was obvious to me, what can I say? Some people just don't have it. There's really nothing to be ashamed about. His board did try its best, and I gave it the most favorable RNG I could think of. They say you mess with the boar, you get the quills. But in my brother's case, it looks like he's only getting Pyramid. Feel free to go back into the video and check any of my math, or better yet, if you think the combat should have gone differently, let me know in the comments below. And to my brother, Chris, I hope you have better luck in your combats than you did in this video. Although I do have to admit, it was a lot closer than I thought. And I'm sure there's some sort of mathematical formula to determine which board would win more often than not, going first or second for either player. If anyone watching this has some sort of simulator and they'd like to recreate this battle, I'd be more than willing to cover it again, especially if I'm wrong. For those of you who stuck around to the very end, I thank you. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel, comment down below, and share with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. Peace off.